Hello, it's recording. So I will turn it over to Daniel Heaton at this time. Thanks, Daniel.
All right, thank you. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen.
Where are you, Daniel?
Okay.
He's on
the moon.
Somewhere in outer space, that type of week. Okay, so again, I am Daniel Heaton. I'm with the Jefferson County Library as the System and Technical Services Manager for the full and accurate title there. So I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you about Zoom. We've been using that quite a bit recently, even for our Tech Tuesday classes. We're going to go through getting started with Zoom in the next 20 minutes, and it really is going to be a very quick overview of Zoom. The goals really are learning how to sign up for Zoom, making sure you know how to download and where to download the Zoom program, because it is both possible to download the program and attend a meeting without signing up, and it is possible to attend a meeting without the client and actually doing that through a web browser or phone, something like that. You have the most controls if you actually have the client installed on a laptop. Okay. We're going to go over some of the setting up and testing your Zoom setup, some of the initial things you need to consider, both on your end and what you might see by a student logging in, because they will probably have similar controls to change backgrounds, put odd hats on their head, things like that. So we will go over basic Zoom features and then where to find help, a very important one. And Zoom does have a pretty good help system, especially if you know what terms to use when looking for that help. Okay. So for the signing up, it's, okay. So for the signing up, you just go to the https zoom.us. And on the page, if you have not already signed up, there will be a sign up for account. This is the same place that you'll go to download and install the client. I've got a set of slides here that walk through the setup process. And this is just to get us all on the same page to make sure that we're all signed up. So essentially, the first thing you do when you click on that sign up button is verify your age. There is an age limit that you need to be over 13 years old to have an account. You'll enter your email address that you want associated with your Zoom account. And once that's entered, they will send you an email where you actually confirm that you have access to that email account. So you'll get an email that says, please activate your Zoom account. You'll get a button. Since this is coming from them, you just signed up, it's okay to either click the activate account button or to actually copy that link and go there in a browser. It will ask if you're signing up on behalf of a school, which I think you're signing up as individuals, not as school members. And so you'd say no to this and then continue. And then at this point, it's like many things you sign up for that you put in your name and your password. It'll give you an option to invite others. You can just go ahead and click on the skip step here. So over here, we have a skip option down to skip this step. You can just click on that. And then at that point, your account is set up. You actually have a meeting. You will have a personal meeting URL and a personal password. This is something that will stay consistent throughout time if you want. And it's really intended for those you know to share this out with them, and you can join a meeting at any time just by going to this meeting session. Okay. Then for the download, on the Zoom, you go and download the Zoom client. And I'm going to escape from the PowerPoint here and actually start going live. So again, when you got to Zoom, this is the page at the zoom.us and where you go to sign up. If you've already signed up for your account, you also have the resources up here and go to download the Zoom client. And there you'll get the option to download, and you can download and install the client on your computer. That making sense so far?
Yeah.
So nod to the head's good.
Yeah, so just a little bit of jargon there. Client is just a newer term for the program on your computer. So yes. It says you're downloading the client. It's just downloading a computer program for your machine. It doesn't mean that they are a person that you're responsible for or any other meaning of client other than it's the program.
Correct. Okay, so once you have the client installed, when you first open the program, the client, you'll have an option to sign in or join a meeting. And this is where you can actually click on join a meeting. And what you'll get is just a meeting link where you can put in your name. You can remember that for your future name. You have options here on joining, whether you connect audio or turn off your video right as you're connecting. Now, you're not signed in at this point, so you're not going to have as many controls, but you are joining a meeting. As we go a step further from here, where you have this, if you click on the sign in option here, at that point, you'll get to where you sign in and you put in that username or email address you just used and the password you just created. Okay. Once that's there, then you get the Zoom program up on your screen. And so this is pretty much where you'll go most of the time to manage things. You have the option to join a meeting directly from this client when you're signed in, assuming you're not already on a meeting. You have the option to schedule a meeting, which we'll return to in a minute about sending out invites. Over in the upper right-hand corner of this screen, you actually have settings. So before...
I have a question.
Yes.
The previous screen said, do you want to sign in with Google, SSO, and one other?
Yes.
Do we have to select? What's
No.
SSO? I mean, what do we have to select one of those?
No, you don't. In fact, I would recommend you avoid those. Basically, this links it up to your Facebook account. If you signed up with Facebook, you're signing up with your Facebook account. You're signing up with Google. And single sign-on option is more of an institution level. So if I wanted everybody at Jefferson County Library to be able to sign on with the same way they sign on to their computers, or everybody in a school signs on as a teacher, that would be the single sign-on option, and that's set up by an administrator of an organization.
So I don't really have to select one.
Nope, you actually just put in your email address, you put in your password, and this sign-in will light up ready for you to click on. And you can just ignore this whole option over here.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And just because it has confused people in the past, you put in your email, but then you're making up whatever password you want. If you've forgotten the password for your email, that's not what it's asking for at this point. It can be an independent password that you use for Zoom. You don't need to remember your email password.
Correct. And that forgot option there is actually if you need to reset your Zoom password because you forgot it.
Yep.
If you have downloaded the client first, you do have a sign up option in the lower right-hand corner of that you could go the route of downloading the client and then signing up for it. Okay, so from your main control panel, you have the settings button up here. And that's going to bring up this window of settings. And so there's some general settings, whether you're using dual monitors, how you want things to connect, reminders, things like that. So it's worth taking a look at what these settings are. Then you have your video options. So this is with video, it's good to check what your video is, what your lighting is. Make sure that you're actually visible. It's good, especially on devices, to know how far back you can set from a device. Whether you have a window behind you that's going to be very bright, but you can check your displays here. You can get to high definition, which takes up more bandwidth. There are some adjustments for low light levels. So worth playing around before you start a meeting, coming into your settings and actually taking a look at what is here before the meeting starts. You do also have the option of hiding non-video participants. I think if you all look at the screen of participants now and see everybody, there's a Daniel 2 there that is a blank screen. I've turned off video for that display. And you could decide that I don't need to see those, they don't need to take up space, and you could turn those off. Okay. As we come down through here, you've got video, you've got audio options. And before you get started, audio options, you want to definitely test your speakers, make sure you can hear what is being said. They will play a bit of a tune when you click on that. If you're using a headset on a laptop, you may actually have multiple speakers available to you. So you want to choose whichever one you want to hear audio out of. You have the option to test your microphone. And again, I'm using a headset right now, which is this headset. There is a microphone on the webcam that I could use. When testing your microphone, you do want to make sure that you're really testing in kind of a live situation. So If you've got a headset, it'll basically move however you turn, that headset's going to stay with you. If you're using a microphone that's on the webcam or on the laptop, if you're turning over here to look at some paper or pages, you may lose all audio at that point. So being aware when you test that you're sure as you walk around the room, as you look around, as you turn your head, you're still being able to be picked up by that microphone. And so it is a simple test of the microphone that will record your voice, and it gives you about 30 seconds to record, and then it'll play back that audio for you so that you can actually walk around and say, testing 1, I'm over here, testing 2, I'm over there, and see how that goes. Backgrounds and filters. So virtual backgrounds, that's what I'm using right here. If I go to none, I just moved into office, don't have anything on my wall, so it's just a blank gray space. It is a blank kind of consistent color is great for the virtual backgrounds, really helps pick those up and allow you not to just see shuttering in there of different colors being picked up. There's an option of a green screen as well, if you have a green screen and really want background to really pop up for you. But that is something that, just as a warning, it can be used if it's allowed as images for somebody to put something in their background that isn't appropriate. So just be aware that that is one possibility. Video filters, a new feature that might be available. They're just starting, allows you to actually add something to your image. Now my guess is it will not take long before people can upload their own filters to this and decide to put something on there. So allowing video filters or not.
A quick comment also about virtual backgrounds. Sometimes it's handy. I know that Sarah Rubenstein at the schools always uses a virtual background because she doesn't necessarily need people to see the inside of her kitchen. So it can be a way, if you are wanting a little bit more privacy when you're talking to a student, want to maybe establish a different kind of authority, to have a background that is doesn't show your messy office in the background like mine does.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
And it is something you can actually add a background. So if you really wanted to be academic library or something, you take a photo of that, you could actually put that in and not have kind of an exotic location background either. So you have a lot of options with there, just adding a background image.
I have a question.
Yes.
Can you show us how you add your own background image?
Yeah, so I would basically, this add image button here, this plus sign, I can click on that and then I can add an image. And at that point, it goes down to my computer and any pictures that I want to put on there will upload as an image for the background. So I can add that, and it's really that simple to do that.
Look out.
That's distracting. We'll go back to something else.
It's also a factor that the processor speed of your computer makes that work or not. My laptop, for instance, can't do it.
That's a good point. And you will also see sometimes Zoom will block you on older laptops from even using one of these features. Other times you'll really get where if you wave your hand, you see what's actually in the background of your room right behind there. It just can't keep up with that processing power. So, again, good thing to test before you actually get into a session. Okay. So that's the settings you can get to here. There are actually 2 other places for settings. Let's see. Bring over. Okay. So on your Zoom, if you look across the bottom of your Zoom screen, you'll probably see something like mute there. Stop video, video participants, chat, all of those. And
Where is that supposed to be?
probably along the bottom of your screen.
But it goes away if you haven't used your screen for a while.
Yeah,
Yes,
well,
you might have to touch. So let me see if I'm.
Yeah, Jennifer, try moving your mouse down to the bottom edge of the screen and it might show up.
Yeah.
don't see anything there. There's some stuff over on the right-hand side, but
Are you on a laptop or a mobile device?
no,
Okay.
I'm on a laptop, sorry.
Laptop, okay. So there's a upper right-hand corner, there's a full screen option. And sometimes you do have to exit full screen to see things as well, or enter full screen. That's one thing to take a look at. But essentially, you should have controls to.
What's that?
That's some feedback somewhere.
Oh,
Some controls to see participants, to actually chat with participants, share screen. I'm going to stop my share a second. Let's see if I can come over here. Okay, it's not. Okay, we'll move on from there. So in your meeting, there's the option to share screen with your menus. There should be a mute and a sound options that can get you to that same settings menu that we got going into here, and get to the audio, the video. You have things with participants, you have a chat, you have an option to record or reactions also available. Some of the settings can be adjusted there. The other place is if you actually sign into your account. Once you're in your account, there on the left-hand side, there will be a settings option in here, where you get options such as putting people in waiting rooms when a meeting starts. And so the most comprehensive set of settings you have is going to be on the web-based portal when you're signed in with your security, your scheduling a meeting, your email notifications, your advanced meetings. So setting up your invitations. So when you're wanting to schedule a meeting, I would recommend starting from the web, clicking on schedule meeting. Sorry, I'm in the wrong spot over here. If you go to meetings over here on the left-hand side, you've got the option then to schedule a meeting. And if you use Outlook or Google Meetings, it's a very similar thing. You can put in the title of the meeting. You can put a description. You have the option of setting the time for the meeting, the duration of the meeting. And just because you set an hour duration does not mean the meeting cuts off right at that hour. If you're in the meeting, it can run over.
Was there a place to select Outlook?
There is under the resources and downloads, if you go to the download the client, there is a integration with Microsoft Outlook that you can use to actually schedule the Zoom meeting straight from Outlook. And that's what they're talking about here. But you would have to have Outlook installed on your computer as well.
And I'll also add that you don't need to schedule a meeting. If you go into that first, if everyone has that meeting address, that big long gobbledygooky long meeting address, if say your student that you're meeting with has used that several times, you don't need to schedule a meeting. You just go and start your meeting, and if they have that ID, they can get into it.
Mm-hmm.
Scheduling a meeting is handy because it gives you this email that has all of the information that somebody might need. It might be handy to do it the first time, but it's not required to actually go through the scheduling process.
Mm-hmm. The other thing scheduling allows you to do is have multiple meeting IDs available to you, so that the one long ID can be used, you send it out, but if you've sent it out to two people and you don't want them interacting at the same time, somebody could log into a meeting because they have that ID. Now you do have the waiting room set up, hopefully, this waiting room option, so that anybody coming in as a participant gets placed into a waiting room. You hear a little ding, doorbell type ding that says there's somebody waiting, and you can actually admit them into the room. So you can control your meetings that way.
And just so you know, that's how you all got into this Zoom. I use a waiting room. I don't use a passcode because it's just one more number to remember. It just means that I have to watch the attendee list and let people in. That's why when you get here, it says the host will let you in shortly, and I'm watching the screen and bringing people in.
Exactly. And then this enable join before host is also an option that you may want to allow, just in case you're a few minutes late. People can join the meeting. They will still get put into the waiting room, but it says waiting for host to join. They get a little message saying waiting for host to join. And
Before
so,
you move on,
yes.
Mail, as to the password and then holding them in the waiting room, which one is the best for avoiding bombers coming in or people just coming in? Is there a security one that's
Well,
better than the
I
other?
would always recommend the waiting room. There you have a chance to both let people in from the waiting room, and if somebody's being problematic, you can throw them back out into the waiting room. So if Ben let Daniel 2 in and Daniel 2's not doing something he wants, Daniel 2 can be kicked out back into that waiting room. There's actually a way for a host to chat with somebody in the waiting room to say you need to do this, or find out whether that person is. At the library, we are using waiting rooms, even on the children's program. So if somebody comes in that we don't want, we can actually kick them back out. If they're not willing to show who they are, we may ask them in the waiting room to actually identify themselves so we know who's joining the meeting. Okay. So once you have completed the scheduled meeting, you do have this link that has been generated. And this is the link that you can send out to people. You can actually go over here to the right and copy the invitation. This is a more formal email that also gives a dial-in number to a person should they not be able to use, for whatever reason, their device for calling into the meeting. They can actually just pick up a phone and call in and listen in on the meeting. Okay. A couple more options to take a look at. Two things you might be doing is the breakout sessions or breakout rooms where you put individual members into different rooms. Also the polling. And so I'm going to go to the support site.
Except, okay, once you've copied the meeting invitation, then when do you send it, or how?
Oh, at any point. So you could copy this and then open your own email and just put it in an email and send it to people.
So I go from, I get out of this screen and go to
Yeah, so if I wanted
my own
to email this, I'd just right click on it, copy, and then I would just open Outlook here, which is my email client, go to new email, paste the client in, maybe tell what the meeting is or any requirements for it along that line, and then send it to the person. And so it's just allowing you to copy that link, send it off to a person. It also allows you on a website to post the link. So I could take this to our web page and post this link, and then anybody who clicks on that link has access.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that's how David Schurer made the emails that invited you to this. I gave him the link. He just dropped it in the email that was going out, and then that would work for people.
Mm-hmm. Which does allow multiple people to just share this link out. So if there's somebody else you need in a group, they can just share it with it, and it doesn't have to be you directly all the time.
It also means, and going back to Catherine's question, that means that some kid can see that on their parents' computer and decide to have some fun with your meeting. But it's always easy for you to then, kick them back out to the waiting room. So
breakout rooms. So enabling breakout rooms. So if we just come to the Zoom Help Center, Zoom Support, enabling breakout rooms, there's a video there that allows, it will actually do a walkthrough. So let's see. Okay. You guys can't see my controls. Actually, you could. So under controls, if I'm going to share a video, there is no actual uploading a video to Zoom. You just play the video on a screen share, and you can go into more and want to make sure that the share computer sounds are available. I think that's showing. Yep. So share computer sounds. At that point, you can just play the video, and this should show up for everyone. And you should hear audio.
Farrah from Zoom here. On this brief video, we're going to show you how you can leverage our breakout room feature to take a large meeting or virtual classroom and split it up into smaller groups or sessions. You'll see that I have already enabled the breakout room feature, which you can find in your settings along the bottom. And that breakout room button will actually be right here. This is a button that only your hosts or co-hosts will be able to see. And right now we don't have a co-host in the session. If I manage my participants, I can hover over Catherine, for example, to make her a co-host. So she'll see this button now.
So I want to point out on this is the same place when you're managing your participants that you have the option to remove a participant. You would have the option to throw them back into the waiting room here. You can make them a co-host should you need to share presentation abilities with another person so that they have all the options available through Zoom. It is that same, just clicking on the more option of a participant, and that gives you options with that participant, including things such as unmuting the participant. So how am I doing time-wise?
Well, we're kind of out of time, Daniel.
Okay, then what I would recommend is taking a look at that support. There is quite a bit there, including the polling, how to enable, because there is both breakout groups and polling need enabled before you start your session. Many of the polls need created before you actually go into the session. Otherwise, you're going to the website and creating it on the fly. So you want to make sure those things are enabled. There are good, before we get to that, breakout rooms. Again, the support site, make sure that you're in meetings, not webinars. There are some different features for Zoom webinars, and sometimes in that support session, they list both meeting options and webinar options, and you're using the meeting option. And then finally, contact. If you have questions, want to set up a time to go over Zoom in more depth, I'd be happy to do so with you. And I may be back presenting to the group in a few weeks as well. So
that would be great.
I think we can guarantee it, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
there's a lot here.
Yeah, there is. And this was a great overview. What I'm going to do is kind of move right on to David Schurer at this point. If people have questions, open up the chat window at the bottom and type in your question there, and I'll be able to field most of those. If I get stuck with something I can't handle, I'll get in touch with Daniel for the real story. But thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
It was
Thank
great
you all.
to have you. It's great to know that you're a constant resource just right there in Hadlock at the Chimacum Library. And we love the work that you guys all do out there. It's a great resource in many, many ways.
Well, thank you, and let us know how we can support you. So,
all right.
well, thank you all. Take care.
All right.
Come on, Daniel.